In this last and final video, we'll set up our map dragger application to serialize and deserialize the coordinates to and from the URL. This will allow the users of our application to pass URLs to each other which have the location they were last looking at embedded in the URL. This will also allow our users to bookmark their location. We'll make use of json.parse, window.encode and decode URI component, history.pushDate, and hash location. Let's get started. First, we are going to work on serializing our coordinates to the URL. And since we mutate our state in our mutations functions, it'll be great to also mutate the URL there as well. Our mutations will be tightly coupled and easy to find for other developers. So let's go ahead and head over to our mutations file, and we're going to look at this coordinate change mutation. And this is where we're going to want the guts of the serialization logic to live. So we're first going to create a JSON, first we're going to create a string representation of our coordinates here, which are embedded in this message object. So this will take the message and create this will create the object, take the object and create a string representation of it. And next we're going to want to prepare that string for injection in the URL. And to do that, we'll use one of the browser's native functions called window.encode URI component. And this just escapes the string and prepares it for being injected into the URL. And lastly, we'll actually inject that URI component into the URL. And one thing to note here is that we must prepend our URI component with a hash. Since this is solely a client-side application, we don't have control over the server. And because of that, we must use the hash location because the browser intercepts hashes and serializes them or deserializes them to window.location.hash. And if we were to just put if we didn't have the hash there, it would actually be a normal URL, and when we refreshed, we would get a 404. So we therefore need that hash at the beginning prepended to our URI component. So let's head on over to the browser and play around with this serialization logic and make sure that it's working all right. Great, so now you can see that we have this really sort of ugly looking string here, but that actually has our coordinates embedded in it. And next we're going to work on deserializing these coordinates and injecting them into our store when our application boots up. So deserialization is the process of taking obfuscated data in one location and transforming it for use in another. To that end, we'd like to deserialize the coordinates which are embedded in our URL and admittedly look a little funky thanks to window.encode URI component, and use those coordinates as part of our base state. So all of this deserialization code will live where we set up our base state, and that's in the Vuex/store.js here. So our application needs to support two use cases: a user who comes to our application without any coordinates embedded in their URL, and a user who does. So to that end, we are going to attempt to deserialize from the URL, and if it doesn't work, we're going to just fall back to some default coordinates. So in the upper part of our try-catch, we are going to grab the hash location from the URL. And we can do that like so. And this is going to return to us a string in the format of, for example, hash foo. And that's not really useful to us because we only care about this piece and not this piece. So I want to, instead of grabbing the hash directly, I want to grab the hash without the hash. And we can do that by using .slice, and that'll just strip off the hash which has been prepended. And we'll get this. Great. So now I want to use what's called window.decode URI component. It's the other side of window.encode URI component to take the hash without the hash and turn it into just a normal string. So this will return to us an object which is stringified, but at least looks like an object. Something along those lines. And the next thing that we want to do is to take that string, which is just a string, and convert it to an object. So we can do that like so. Okay, so if this whole operation fails, we want to fall back to our default coordinates, and we will print out a little bit of an error message for developers who need to debug this to see later on. And we'll also set the default coordinates back to the Santa Monica location. And here, instead of using the Santa Monica coordinates, we'll want to use the coordinates which we've just calculated in this try-catch block. And we'll save it, and we'll head back over to the browser. And we will see that, in fact, the coordinates were deserialized from the URL and set as our base state. Lastly, let's go ahead and commit our changes. First, let's look at which files we've changed. We've only touched the store and the mutations file. We will add in a little commit message here, and we will push up our changes. And then we'll head over to GitHub and look at a PR. Let's go ahead and do a quick review. So as you can see, not much code, but not much code for such a powerful feature. And let's go ahead and merge that code in. So we're done. Let's recap all that we've accomplished in this series. We've set up a brand new Vue.js 2.0 application using Vue-cli. We've installed jQuery and jquery.pep.js, and we've created a map dragger component which uses it. We've architected and built an app which uses Vuex, actions, mutations, and getters. And we've also created a unique way to store our coordinates in the URL for shareability and savability. Remember our requirements from video 1? Well, we set out to create a map dragging application which was mobile and desktop compatible, as well as shareable and savable. I think we did a good job. I hope you enjoyed this video series, and you've seen that Vue.js 2.0 is an incredibly powerful and fun framework to write your applications in. If you want more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe below. This has been Brian Gonzalez. I'll see you around.